With 180 recording studios, 130 music publishers, over 100 live music stages, and 80 record labels, there is a reason it is called Music City, USA. And you will be singing a happy tune when you see all the lovely shops we found on this episode of Ms. World Traveler in Nashville, Tennessee. Hi friends, I'm Ms. World Traveler Kerry Damiano, inviting you on an adventure to discover style, design, fashion, art, and antiques in great shopping destinations across the country and around the world. Come with me. Capital of Tennessee since 1843, Nashville was founded on Christmas Eve in 1779, but it wasn't until 1925, with the establishment of WSM Radio and its broadcast, Grand Ole Opry, that Nashville secured its reputation as Music City. Staged live every week, the Opry has been in continuous production for over 100 years and is America's longest-running radio show. The Grand Ole Opry has had several homes throughout its history, including the Ryman Auditorium, which is credited with the birth of bluegrass in 1945 and where Elvis Presley made his only appearance in 1954. It was moved to the 4,440-seat Opry House in 1974. And by launching careers, creating genres, and entertaining millions, it is cemented as the true home of country music. Now, if you really want to feel like you belong here, you're going to need a hat. Influenced by her Southern roots, New York City style, and education in traditional millinery, Ashley Botts Willis specializes in a modern twist on classic styles. So Ashley is A. Botts Willis.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. You got it right.
No
one gets it right.
I've been practicing.
I always joke about it. I'm like, A. Botts Willis? No. A. Botts Willis. Good job.
So where did the whole concept come from?
Okay, so I was in corporate fashion for a long time in New York, and off of a whim, I took a millinery class just to learn how to make my own hats. I've always loved hats, I've always worn hats, but I didn't want to wear a boring men's dress hat.
Oh no, why would anybody want to wear
exactly.
that?
So I'm like, where are the pinks? Where are the yellows? Where are like all the fun things? And so I thought, oh, this will be a fun class to take. And my first teacher, Miss Nora, she was just like this ray of bright light and kind of just changed everything for me. And I had an amazing first semester. We were like kindred spirits. And at the end of the semester, she was like, hey, Ash, I need to talk to you. And she brought me into her office and I was like, oh gosh, what's going on?
I'm in trouble.
I was like, I thought we were getting along well. And she was like, well, I haven't told anybody yet, but I'm retiring. You were my last class. And I was like, oh my gosh. And she said, so I felt like I needed to tell you this before I left. And I was like, oh, okay, what is it? And she's like, I know you have a big girl career. She's like, but this is your calling. And she was like, I haven't been inspired by a student in a really long time. She's like, I was making your hats. And like, you know, we were joking. And you know, I was bawling and everything was just kind of coming to, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is my, you know, it was like that aha moment, you know, and yeah, and just, I mean, she's so respected in the millinery world, and she did a lot of costume design and stuff like that. So, I mean, Nora telling me this, I'm like, oh, okay, you know.
Better listen.
Yes.
Right?
So that was kind of the aha moment for me. And I ended up doing, you know, the rest of the millinery school at FIT, which is like 2 more years. And after that, I, you know, went in one day. I was actually about to get a promotion. I was like, you know what? I'm done. And
you're ready to follow your passion.
Yep. I was ready to roll out. And, you know, I never turned around. You know, I didn't have a plan B, and I don't believe in plan Bs. And I was like,
who needs a safety net?
Yeah, right? I was like, this is what I'm doing. I was like, let's go. Move into Nashville, starting a hat business. So, you know, some people probably thought I was crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, this is the place to make hats.
Yeah.
And you're not just making traditional cowboy hats. You're making all kinds of hats.
My background is more fashion. You know, I did grow up in North Carolina, and my dad was a for real cowboy. So, I mean, I always kind of had like that Western energy in some sense around me. And, you know, as we talked about earlier, I've kind of had a Native American influence around me. So you can kind of see that in my work. But I think the underlying, you know, aesthetic is more fashion.
It's fashion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me about the hat that you're wearing.
So this guy is a Panama straw, which all of the Panama straws are hand woven in Ecuador. And they basically all come in bodies, and then I hand make them from there. But yeah, this is my tall crown. I do a lot of what I call 10 gallons. I'm a big tall crown girl.
Okay.
You know,
we'll get
going
it
higher. Yeah, like a little more lift. But yeah, so this is one of the 10 gallons. It's a Panama straw. I do a lot of those in the summer.
And do you dye them, or do they come in natural, or do they come in like this color?
So this one was hand dyed by them. But if you look at a lot of my straws and my felts, I do a lot of natural dyeing myself. So I actually came up with a technique called marble dyeing. I do a lot of marble dyes. It looks like marble. I do a lot of tie dyes. I do a lot of dip dyes where, you know, it's a partial color and then the other half is another color. I do some shibori dyeing, which is a Japanese technique. So yeah, I do a lot of natural dyeing myself too.
You really get to creatively think of what is cool and interesting and different, and then just do it.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, that's the fun part for me, you know, is the creative aspect. And, you know, a lot of times I don't even decide what I'm doing until I'm doing it. You know, it's like, oh, that'll look cute on there.
It takes shape, right?
As I'm doing it.
As it's coming together.
For sure.
So one of the things I read about you is that you also have a trailer.
Yes.
So what do you do with that?
So the hat trailer is how I started. I wanted something that was, you know, mobile. I could reach a larger audience. I could travel if I wanted to. So that was kind of the original idea behind starting the business and not having such overhead, because getting out of the corporate world, the last thing I wanted was large overhead immediately.
Right.
So
that's a big burden to take on.
Yes. Yeah. So I did the hat trailer instead. I built it all out by myself. I had the shell made, and then I built the inside myself. I still have it. I still do, you know, corporate events, private events. I take it to Texas twice a year to a show called Round Top. So I still use it, and it's still available, but now with the brick and mortar, you know, she doesn't get as much love.
Right. But this store is really beautiful.
Thank you.
And you have the whole thing.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the building.
So the building's actually a new build out. So when I got it, it was just a shell, and it took me a few months. I got it in May of last year. It took me a few months to build it out, but I mean, it's definitely my aesthetic. If you saw the trailer first and then you walk in here, people would be like, yeah, this is just the trailer on steroids.
Right.
You know? So it definitely has the same vibe. You know, my trailer was pink and had a lot of turquoise and fun and bright colors. Same with this. You know, I love you know, a lot of girly, kind of flamboyant, over the top things, but then I also am a big taxidermy girl.
I have seen
that. You know, I love a lot of wood and, you know, old vintage antique things. So it's definitely a mixture of, over the top, bright, fun, new things mixed with old things.
Mhm.
So,
Well, why not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you can love lots of different things.
yes.
But one of the things we were talking about the other day were the chandeliers that you designed that you hang your hats on.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So when I first started designing the hat racks, I wanted them to be more interactive for customers. Instead of just walking up to a wall and just taking a hat off the wall and everything just kind of meshing together.
Right, and being a little bit flat.
Yeah, it was just flat. I wanted
Mhm.
it to have more dimension, and these, they can literally move them, they can play with them, they can, I just love the fact that they can walk around and I did different heights as well. So, some are higher than others. Some have, eight racks and some of them have 6. So I just didn't want it to be even and flat and boring.
Uh-huh.
So that's really the whole idea behind it. And then we just kind of took the piping of the building and decided to do the chandeliers and the piping to kind of match instead of originally we were going to do them in wood, but we felt like the whole industrial look went really well with the exposed piping that was already here in the building. So that was kind of the reasoning behind those.
Love it.
Yeah.
And then you painted it pink. So you have this industrial feel of the building, but then you painted it pink.
Yes,
So
exactly. Yeah.
You made it your own.
Yes.
Which we love, right?
Anything with me, you'll always find pink. So.
Great. Well, so you're making a lot of the hats here.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the process.
Okay. So all the hats are actually made here now. My other workshop I got rid of. But yeah, the process is that I basically get in a body, which is just ultimately a piece of fabric. I do different fur qualities. So I have a rabbit, a beaver blend, 100% beaver belly, and chinchilla, which a lot of hat makers don't do chinchilla anymore. It's very difficult to find, and there's only one factory in the US that still sells chinchilla fur.
Okay.
But yeah, and then I also do the Panama straws. So when I get the body, whether it's felt or fur in, I measure the person's head. I do the old school way of hat making, so I measure with a conformateur, which you put down on top of the person's head, and it doesn't just get their exact size, it also gets their shape as well. So then I trace their shape and I make them a wooden block. So I actually have their exact block. So each person has their own block.
Ooh, very cool.
Yeah. And then I either wet block or steam block. And I block multiple times just because in the old school way of hat making, most people used to hand shape the styles instead of using like a block shape. On the factory level, they'll have a lot of blocks, and some hat makers still use these too. But the block will already have the shape in it, like a fedora shape or an ombre or whatever it is. But I use all open crowns, and then I hand shape it myself. So every hat truly is completely different.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's for something for custom. What about if somebody comes in and just wants to buy one, right off the chandelier?
Yes. So that's definitely a possibility. I mean, there's a lot of people that fall in the category of being able to fit in somewhat generic sizing. So I do have a lot of hats on the rack that are all different sizes and shapes as far as, oval or regular oval. So, if it happens to fit you and it's a style that you love, then you can take it home today.
Right.
Yeah.
Wonderful. How long does it normally take if somebody wants a custom hat?
It really depends on what I'm doing. If I'm dyeing, if I'm, stitching, if I'm doing beadwork, or, I have somebody do the beadwork for me. But, depending on what we're doing to the hat, I mean, it could be anywhere from, 4 hours to 10 plus hours. So it really depends. And it's over days because you have to go through a drying process too.
Right. Doesn't all just happen linear, right?
Exactly. No one could make a hat like if they made it right in just one day.
Yeah.
It just isn't possible.
There's some resting time,
drying
time, setting time. In between.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, wonderful. We're going to have a look around.
Yeah. Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Thanks.
She is the girl who wears hats for a reason, and where better to countrify your look than with a custom hat from A-Bots Willis. A new hat is just the beginning of what you're going to want in Nashville, so stay tuned to the next segment of Ms. World Traveler, where we'll see a new twist on vintage Western shirts. See you then.